Hello and welcome to the Awakened Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Kaki Lee, a mindset coach and healer who's on a mission to share the love and wisdom of inspiring women from around the world who have gone through adversity and turned their pain into purpose. Today, I'm excited to share the love and wisdom of Mindfulness Instructor, author of The Language of the Soul, Mindfulness from A to Z, Your Roadmap Within, and co-founder of the Mindfulness Group, Pamela Chimenti, who is joining me all the way from Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your surname at the beginning, so I hope I got that right.
You did it
Oh,
perfectly.
awesome. So thank you so much, Pamela. Before we dive into your journey, I always love to ask my guests if they can share what their definition of an awakened feminine is.
Hmm. Great question. An awakened feminine is, for me, somebody who takes every opportunity in life to and use it to awaken, and to understand that for me, awakening means harnessing my masculine and feminine energy, and using them in conjunction, the yin and the yang, knowing that both of these energies serve its purpose, and using them towards my evolution.
Yeah. Oh, I love that definition, and I've got full body goosebumps going on. I just love that. And that, for you, that means that combining that yin and the yang, the masculine and feminine, because I think sometimes some people go really into the feminine side, or, for most women, I think in society, we go very into masculine side, and it's having that equilibrium or that balance, which really takes us to the next level. So I love that definition. Thank you for sharing that. So, Pamela, I'd love to dive into your journey. I know you started out as a psychologist and then you went down the entrepreneur path for like about 15 years before becoming the mindfulness instructor and yoga teacher and author that you are today. Can you share with us, what led you down the path of mindfulness and, including any spiritual awakenings or aha moments you had along the way?
um, I think the question, well, I think it was always trying to give me aha moments in every moment. I think looking back, whether it was from my teens or 20s or 30s, but I think definitely the biggest awakening came when I was really into my business. It was thriving, and then I went through some health shifts, and that definitely got my attention. When everything gets pulled from you,
Yeah.
your titles, right? Mom, sister, friend, employer, um, and all those titles, and you're in bed. Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you value? Do you think you have value? um, what do you offer, just being and not doing per se?
Mm.
Having all of those questions and being with that, and allowing for all the layers to come off of you, and then surrendering to something new, and whatever that moment represents. And for me, accepting the fact that obviously my life was calling for a change, and I wasn't awake to it. And then realizing that in the solitude, in being in bed, in the not knowing, in the seventh doctor's appointment, no answers, in the no, canceled date nights with my husband, in the not picking up my kids from school, in the, not having drinks with your friends and saying no for the umpteenth time, brought on a whole different bout of wisdom and knowledge and awareness of what was trying to emerge.
Mm.
And by me holding the space for that long enough through an ailment, right?
Yeah.
Even though the ailment looks bad, looks wrong, looks like pain, looks like it's hurting me, taking the opportunity to allow myself to wake up to what was trying to emerge and listening intently. And from there stemmed my shift from stepping out of my business and more into the realm of yoga and mindfulness. I had always kind of been there, but not to the degree. I kind of stepped back from my business. I took my yoga teacher training and it kind of had me in a totally different direction, started my book, and, you know, out came this new sense of direction, purpose, wonder, and curiosity.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I want to ask you, this question just popped up. You know, in society, we're so attached to our titles. You know, you were saying that when you were in bed, those things didn't matter anymore. It was like, who am I? So I want to ask you, if I'm asking, like, now that you know who you are, are you happy to share with us, you know, minus the titles, who you are now as a person?
Yeah. So it's a great question. I mean, you know, your titles are an aspect of us, our names, you know, our titles, our resumes, what we do, our careers, and all of those are an aspect. But if you look underneath the surface, who I really am is awareness, is divinity, is energy, is abundance. That's the truth. And that can be, and that's the divine dichotomy, right? I am divine, you know, even if I'm in bed and not feeling well. I
Mm,
am abundant even though I'm not going out and earning money,
yeah.
right? So knowing that those are all in me no matter how much I do. So I definitely leaned more on, you know, Eastern philosophy, the do less, achieve more. It's a knowingness. It's, you don't chase everything and run after work and business and money and kids and success. It's more so you envelop it, you know who you really are, and it you draw it to you. You don't go out and chase it. And as you draw it to you, you reserve your energy, and it becomes a life of quality versus quantity.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. And I want to ask you, I mean, obviously, when you were bedridden and not being able to do all the things that you usually do or even want to do, you, sorry, lost my train of thought there. um,
That's a
you know, you had to obviously do a lot of healing, and then um, you know, really look at what you were doing at that time. So, what were some of the tools or the teachers that were really helpful in kind of bringing you back, so that, you know, you can actually see, although you were in what you would call a bad place, you know, you not being able to do what you were wanting to do, how that it, how you change your perspective to see that it was taking you to somewhere new.
Mhm. Well, I think, you know, going through any challenge, you know, the big three are always a relationship challenge, like a divorce or a loss of somebody, or financial, right? Bankruptcy, loss of a job, or the third one, which is health, right? This is interchangeable. Mine might be this, but somebody else's might be one of those, right? It's always the
Yeah.
big three. Whichever one it is, it really doesn't matter. The feeling's the same, a deep sense of loss of some sort, right? And so when you get down to it, when the label starts coming off, um, the it's almost like a detoxification. So it takes time for the mind to settle and things to
Mm-hmm.
quiet. So I think for me, the solitude, the silence was my greatest teacher. It gave me the most answers. And from there, um, journaling, meditation, yoga, walks in nature, gratitude lists, um, um, you know, just living more of a Zen lifestyle by doing one thing at a time and being fully present, really for me cultivated all of the the knowing and the questions and the integration that I wanted, to kind of get my life back into a place where I could marry, let's say, the formlessness and the form, and
Mm,
put it together. So in saying that, I believe that, solitude and silence is loaded with answers, and that's where the book, The Language of the Soul, came from. Mindfulness from A to Z, every single letter. A is for awakening. Something happened in your life. One of the big three happened.
mm,
We go into B for being. We're human beings, not human doers, right? Second layer.
yeah.
C, calling. What's it calling you to do? Is there a shift or a change that needs to happen? And it works all its way down to Z. So there's 26 different mindfulness practices that we can be aware of and help cultivate and walk you through your awakening journey, shift, change, transformation, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I love that. I was looking at your Instagram and I noticed that you're kind of dedicating a little video to, your chapters. I think you're working through from A to Z, but I think you got up to E when I last looked at your Instagram, just for each chapter of your book, and just like a little tip. So I just really love that you're doing that. And yeah, just seeing the A to Z in your book, the chapters, I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm definitely be getting your book as well. And I noticed that you when I went on Amazon, that you actually have a kids version of that as well. So how did that come about?
As soon as I was writing the adult version, when I was midway, I could see this, children's version, arising. And because I have two kids, I could see how valuable it would be for them to just learn this as they're growing, rather than have to, rearrange their whole life at 35.
Yeah,
And they don't, and this is what they don't teach you at school, right?
yeah,
And this is what I wanted to give to my children, and I feel children all over the world could benefit from, and not necessarily because it's my book, but because it's ancient wisdom.
yes,
Because this is, ancient wisdom that stands the test of time,
yeah,
teaches you how to live, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, we definitely have a kids version. A is definitely not for awakening for children; it's for affirmations. Um, and and they learn 26 different techniques, and this is it's a great book in the sense of it's a bit interactive too, like, so it'll be a couple of sentences, and then every page has a beautiful landscape of nature, because I feel like nature just gives you that
Mm,
experience. And then it'll have a couple of, kind of soulful questions, and that you can do with your child. And it helps kind of create, kind of a mindfulness 5 minutes every night activity. Pick one letter and add to it, and it can just become, a way of integrating and connecting and reflecting, and creating a practice, that can, really transform, your day, your relationships, everything really.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm definitely going to be getting that for my children as well, because there's actually not a lot of books out there. I mean, I think lately I've seen there's a few more books out there around mindfulness and, that more spiritual aspect of life, as you say, the ancient wisdom, knowledge of how to live, because it's all about, how to achieve, and, the very masculine energy that's been driving society for so long, that we don't have this, the more feminine, intuitive, ancient wisdom that, as you say, don't get taught at school. So I love that, you're sharing that knowledge with us, and being able to, also share that with the children as well. So thank you.
And
Excited.
that's the and that and I have to add to that, and that's the dichotomy again of it, because it's almost like, yes, everyone wants their kids to do well and get ahead and achieve and succeed, and definitely there's one hand for that, 100%. But there's also this other hand that says, you know them learning how to slow down their mind, or learning how to express their feelings so that they're emotionally intelligent and understand how to have, because if you're emotionally more intelligent, you can have greater connections and relationships, understanding the power of gratitude and harnessing that. And for whatever you're grateful for, you will receive more of. And just understanding these laws actually is what a lot of kids don't have, which is actually what can give your child um, more of the edge, or whatever, more of a
Yeah.
movement forward in such a different way, but not at the cost of somebody else not being successful,
Yeah.
or being number two, or losing the soccer game, or passing the bar exam or not passing. It's authentic power. It's not something that can be taken away, like like a degree, or money, or a relationship. This is authentic power that's cultivated, knowing that everything is within them, and them understanding the delicate balance of both of them, I think, is important.
Yeah, exactly. And it just really helps with the coping mechanism as well, because as you're saying that, it's all about achieving, achieving, achieving in the society. But when people fail or it doesn't go according to plan, we don't get taught the tools on how to deal with that. So then that's when people go into this downward spiral and get stuck, and they can't get themselves out of it because they haven't been taught how to get themselves out
Yeah,
of it, or see things from a different perspective, or learn from everything that's happened for them in their lives.
exactly right. And I think it's really important to be able to accept and, in fact, embrace if your child does fail a pop quiz, or teach them how to fail. Teach them that just the outside does not necessarily mean that should shake your inner world.
Yeah.
And having this true and authentic power inside of you, knowing that this is built on cement blocks and not on sand, will help them with stress, anxiety, depression, body image, just an array of things. So when somebody says something mean, or somebody doesn't get invited, or they don't have the cool shoes, whatever it may be, they didn't get the proper mark they wanted to get, it like they don't go head first into a tailspin of total identity crisis, because they're like, if I'm not the cool kid, or if I'm not the smart kid, or if I'm not the good kid, then who am I? And then and then that can take you somewhere. So setting a good foundation is definitely something that can help many, many children.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. So, Pamela, I'd love for you to share more love and wisdom with us. So, I mean, you probably mentioned it already, but I don't know if it might be something different. So, what was the experience that you've been through that you found the most challenging but led to your biggest breakthrough?
I definitely, for sure, would be my health um, shift, for sure. And it definitely led to a career change. It led to everything changing: my thoughts, my words, my actions, most importantly, my consciousness. It
Yeah.
shifted my consciousness. And from there, everything else came.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I mean, being an entrepreneur, you're still an entrepreneur, obviously, but going from something different, completely different to what you're doing now, how did you find the transition? Because I know there's a lot of people that get scared when there's change, right? But you'll find that what you learned from before you can actually bring into the newer career as well. So how did you find that transition, and yeah, and work through it, I guess?
Um, I think it's moment by moment. I think who I was as an entrepreneur before, where there was a sense of when you're running a business and there's 20 people, working with you, and you're kind of leading, and things are going well, and you're doing great numbers. I think you definitely lead through passion, but I also think there are elements of, different types of behaviors like control and hierarchy, and those are very different aspects. And now, as I'm an entrepreneur in a very different way, I think, the shift in consciousness is every time you're speaking to somebody you're working with, or every time you're speaking to a client, um, the shift is there really is no other.
Mm.
That we are one. There's a sense of unity consciousness. There's a sense of, this is not just about, financial gain, and if the client's happy. This is way more than that. This is about, does it feel aligned?
Yeah.
Does it feed this part of me? Does it deplete all of my energy, or does it feel balanced? There's such different questions. And when you start asking those types of questions, you come from a different place where you do less but attract more.
Mm. Yeah. So it's like you've become this conscious entrepreneur. I mean, not saying that you were unconscious before, but it's like a different,
Okay.
type of different perspective, right? And different ways of carrying out your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not just the client's always right. Let's make sure this client's right no matter what, how long it takes, what happens, and then bottom line, make sure that everyone's making the money that they want to make. It goes way beyond that at this point. And you want to make sure everybody feels like they're winning, and it more than just, yes, financial gain or a client's happy.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, Pamela, I mean, having gone through everything that you have been through, what do you believe is the greatest lesson you've learned in your life so far?
Greatest lesson I've learned, and I have to take this from Eckhart Tolle, is that our first purpose is to evolve
Mm,
consciously. We're always evolving, but it's a choice to say, am I evolving consciously? Am I awake to my choices? And am I awake to the pain and the opportunity within the pain?
yeah,
Right? Am I awake to what is happening in my life and really paying attention? So definitely. And then your second purpose is your roles: mother, sister, friend, employer, employee, all those other labels. So definitely, to evolve consciously, I think, is the biggest lesson I've learned. And when you start paying attention, you stop when challenges do arise, they don't hit you as hard, or it doesn't rock you as hard, and you're able to move through, and it changes the experience of your life. So I'm grateful to have paid attention.
yeah, I love that. And it is so true because I think a lot of people, go through life being unconscious. And so everything's happening to them and they wonder why their life is not changing because they're not, waking up to see what those lessons that they've experienced are teaching them or what, whereas
Yeah.
when you're conscious, you're like, all right, this has happened. Why is it happening? What is it within me that needs to shift? Right. And then
Yeah,
your
you start
life,
asking.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you start asking, how am I co-creating this? Why is this showing up for me? And how can you have contrast be your best teacher?
yeah,
As soon as something comes in that I don't like, I don't agree with, I don't accept, is not for me, I don't want to happen, right? How do you let that be your teacher?
Yeah.
What are the questions that go along with it?
Yeah.
And learning how to shift and move and grow from that.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, Pamela, I mean, I asked you before what was some of the healing tools and teachers that you had. I'm a avid book reader. I'm not sure if you are one too, but are there any books or a particular book that really made a big impact on your life and your journey?
There was definitely a few. I'm an avid reader, love to read. I definitely read, obviously, all of Eckhart Tolle's
Yeah.
books. Really, really enjoyed Conversations with God, all of them,
Mm.
by Neil Donald Walsh. Dr. Shafali Sabari, I mean, if you're a parent
Oh,
and if
yes.
you're not a parent, for me, has really shifted the way I look at life. Um, and then I would say the Tao for me, really, the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu
Yeah.
has really taught me how to flow with life and with
Mm.
energy, um, accept the polarities in life, knowing that through in darkness is where light grows and where possibilities flourish. So when you start putting when all your beliefs start getting challenged, you don't, it starts to remove the judgment
Yeah.
of what you think is good or what you think is bad, and that's been incredibly helpful. The Tao Te Ching for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing those books with us. Definitely, Eckhart Tolle is someone I need to go back to. I think when I first read it or listened to his book, I wasn't ready, because I think with certain books, you really need to be ready to be able to actually understand it and actually absorb it. And when you're not, you're just like, what what is happening? But yeah, but definitely want to go back. And I really did enjoy Conversations with God with Neil Donald Walsh. Yeah, I'm gonna add the Tao Te Ching into my list of books to read. Thank you for that. And I love how you mentioned the polarity and letting go of judgment of what's right or wrong in your eyes, because I think everyone has a different point of view, and being able to see things with compassion and empathy, and knowing that what's right for you might not be right for someone else. And and that's what's happening in the world right now, where everyone's just like, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, and not being able to see the other person's point of view.
And how do you see the other person's point of view? And the Tao offers that. It shows you, it neutralizes, right?
Yeah.
Good versus bad. It whatever darkness might feel like, or your thoughts might be around darkness, or light is better, and it really turns your thoughts upside down, so they don't have as much strength. So when you do see it, you're seeing it more from a neutral state. So
Yeah.
that's super helpful. I have to ask you, what are your top three
My
books?
top three. um for me, Super Attractor by Gabrielle Bernstein is a big one, because that was really what kind of unlocked my connection with the divine, if you can
Hmm.
call it that. Think and Grow Rich was another one. I think that's the one that people usually recommend you to read when you kind of first start into the personal growth, spiritual growth journey. And that really helped change my perspective on a lot of things. And the last one would be, I'm a big Gabrielle Bernstein person, because she really helped unlock a lot of things for me. So The Universe Has Your Back is another one that really helped me as well. But I
Yeah,
mean,
that's good. Yeah.
I've read a lot of books, but those are the ones that really helped me to unlock, you know, take me to the next part um, of my journey.
Makes sense. Yeah, those are good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Pamela, I want to ask you, if you could time travel and go back to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
The advice I would give is Okay, my answer is twofold.
Yeah.
So the advice I would give is, if you don't go within, you go without.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I'd also say that, this is the divine dichotomy. Like, you can't know who you are without knowing who you're not.
Mm.
So that was just as much of a growth at not knowing who I was to knowing who I was. So
Yeah.
it's it's a bit of a conundrum, but if I had to give advice, if you don't go within, you'll go without. But at the same time, my disclaimer is that was getting to know myself more
Yeah.
by not knowing myself.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, okay, let me gel that together. Yeah. Yeah, that's deep. And I love that piece of advice for your younger self. Thank you for sharing that. So, Pamela, right now, I know there's, people listening to this right now who are stuck or feeling like they want to change or they want to have a shift in their life, whether it's their career, their relationships, or their health, anything really. And they don't know where to start, or they just tried and then they stopped, and they're getting scared or having this fear. What advice or recommendation or tips do you have to help them really just move forward in where they want to go with their relationship, their career, or their health?
Well, first thing I would say is keep your jobs, keep your relationships, don't do anything hastily. I find that, when we're really craving a change on the outside, it's really because the change is wanting to be created on the inside first.
Mm,
So I'd say work your way in and then out. And that's what some of the books that we were talking about can do. If you
yeah,
get quiet enough through some practices, and I would ask them too, what's your spirit, what's your practice? It doesn't have to be a spiritual practice. It can be a walk in nature if you don't consider yourself spiritual. But what is your practice of solitude, so that when your mind gets quiet, your soul can tell you what the next step is?
mm,
There's Everybody inside of them has a GPS, a compass, with very, very special and unique instructions that are tailored just for you on your path. Yes, you can read books. Yes, you can listen to speakers. Yes, you can listen to podcasts. There's a time and a place for that, for sure. However, that's only one hand. On the opposite hand, you also need to be quiet enough to want to know what the answers are for you, and to be able to get quiet enough and access them through meditation, yoga, prayer, a walk in nature, painting, whatever it is for you, and cultivate a practice every day, let's say 10 minutes, so that you're able to hear those instructions. Those are the directions that will lead you where you need to go,
yeah,
in exactly the order, and the doors will open and there will be flow. But your mind is not going to be able to figure it out, know the directions, think it knows what's best. It's going to come from a deeper place. So before you make changes on the outside, work on the inner shifts on the inside, and it will guide your way.
yeah. I love that because I think most people don't want to be with their thoughts by themselves because it's scary what comes up. And as you're saying, the podcast, the reading, the mentors, it is that one side, but you take from that what aligns with you, and then you have to go in to actually know what aligns with you, and hear your thoughts about what your soul wants. So I want to ask you, for people like for those people who either haven't meditated before or they just don't want to be by themselves with their thoughts, what's some practical tips that you might have to help them like just get started to be comfortable with being in solitude and in silence?
That's a really good question. And that's happened to me as well. Like, totally normal. You sit down, you close your eyes and you're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? All of these thoughts going by. Totally relatable.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't think it has to be, you know, sitting on a cushion, eyes closed, in lotus pose. No one's talking about that. But I know that in everybody that's listening right now, I'm going to speak directly to you. Deep down, there's something that resonates with you. It could be, art or writing some music, or it could be listening to a piece of music. I could be a bath, something that you can do every single day. And maybe every day it changes, but it's 10 minutes. And remember, it can be 3 minutes of solitude every day. But that would feel good. But if you just listen to what I say and say, oh, you're supposed to meditate, right? If you just listen to somebody say, oh, you're supposed to meditate, so that's what you're supposed to do. Of course, it's going to feel wrong. Because again, you're not listening to your soul, right? And the soul, listen to what the soul's asking you to do. I'm just talking about the umbrella of solitude. And so that could be looking at candle gazing for 2 minutes because it's so calming to you, right? Or listening to a beautiful piece of music or dancing. Those 2-minute increments that you can do every day, and then you can increase slowly, will give you the answers that you're looking for, will give you the fulfillment that outside here is not giving you, whether it's the career, and you're grateful for all, you're grateful for the kids and the marriage and or the career and the people in your life and the house and the cars, you're grateful for it, but what's missing? What is that? Why is it not feeling juicy? Why am I not feeling full? Why am I not feeling purposeful? Why am I not comfortable and I'm drinking good champagne, or I'm at home with my feet up and I watched a movie? And those are all nudges from the soul. And for yourself what that 2-minute process is, and you build that up with time, and every day asking your soul, today, what is my 2 minutes of solitude, or 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, and then slowly and incrementally raising it from then so you can create a relationship with yourself. If you make friends with yourself, you'll never be lonely, right?
Yeah, definitely. When you're comfortable being by yourself and doing things on your own, it's a whole different experience. You just, yeah, that loneliness. I used to get that. Just I always have to be around people, and now it's like I actually love having that time to myself, even if it's going to a cafe by myself. It's I don't, it doesn't bother me. Whereas before you'll be like, oh, it's a bit strange going by myself. I need to be with someone. But now I
You're
actually,
exactly right.
yeah, just
You're
love
exactly
my
right.
own
That's
company.
exactly what we're talking about. It's exactly like when you go on the treadmill. If I were to put somebody who hasn't worked out in a couple of years on the treadmill at 7.0, and they're running for 2 minutes, everything's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But everyone started their, I'm sure, exercise before. And the first day, it's a little bit hard to start walking on the treadmill for 10 minutes, but you build it up with time. And so I encourage everybody to listen to whatever speaks to them and take it incrementally.
Yep, love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, Pamela, I'm going to take a bit of a turn because I'm all about self-love, because for me, that was one of my biggest lessons on my journey. So, as an awakened feminine, what does self-love mean to you?
Self-love means to me creating some time, some solitude for me to return to spend time with myself
Mm,
in some form of practice. And in that practice, I rejuvenate, and I am able to go out into the world and love others and connect more deeply and give more freely and in more aligned of who I really am in that offering, because there's a fullness inside for myself coming from a deeper place. So self-love is, for me, having a practice every day.
yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And so, what are your top three, go-to activities to make sure you give yourself that self-love you deserve?
Well, in the morning time, usually I'll meditate for 15, well, I will meditate for 15 minutes in the morning. Then I'll do some breath work. And then I will, after that, I'll do some yoga.
Yeah.
So I have a whole morning routine, and that's what it kind of consists of. And then checking in throughout the day really for me is huge. You know, even though I'm talking to somebody, there's a part of me that can still be connected
Yeah.
to my heart space, to who I really am, and kind of bringing myself throughout the day
Yeah.
is for me very important.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, Pamela, before we wrap up, I'd really love to know what is setting your soul on fire right now and what is your personal mission?
So for me, what sets my soul on fire right now is I live in Toronto, Canada. We've been in lockdown for most of a year.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys are in a good spot in Australia there, which is really, really nice. So great for you guys. But for me, really, it's been, you know, kind of living this ashram lifestyle of being, I've always kind of wanted to, I've, you know, obviously been to an ashram a couple of times, but to really live this lifestyle and have the comforts of home, my kids right there, good thread count sheets,
Yeah.
good food, I'm, you know, and just um be in acceptance and surrendering, that there are no weekends or weekdays anymore, or that there's no control over the schedule, or that all of this going on in the world keeps me firmly grounded in myself, because there is no planning, um, and finding the beauty in that,
Mm,
knowing that I can empower myself through taking charge of my health and my food choices, knowing that, you know, I can be informed of what's happening in the world, and at the same time not get caught in the toxicity and the political gossip of it, and the drama of some certain things, knowing that um, I can contribute. Like, you know, before I used to do lots of outreach, and now being home, I know that just conserving water, you know, doing global meditations that can shift consciousness and suffering in the world.
mm,
Um, you know, taking the time to make sure that I recycle, like learning to not look to do things in the world that are good, but being good, coming from that place in every moment. And that this is the time where it's a gift. It goes slow enough that I'm able to really introspect and learn about myself and take that opportunity.
yeah, I love that. I love, that you are able to make those conscious decisions to live a life, even though, the outside world is a bit crazy, being able to have that conscious decision and wisdom to really go, oh, well, that's happening outside. How can I make the best of it and still live, a life of purpose and meaning, right?
Hmm.
I love that.
For sure. Lots of opportunity here, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pamela, for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. I've really, really, really enjoyed our conversation today. If people want to find out more about you and how they can work with you, where should they go?
They can definitely find me on Instagram at Pamela Chimenti 88, or they can go to my website at the mindfulnessgroup.com, and I'm giving away a free mindfulness session. So if anybody would like to reach out and would like to take a peek on what's happening on the inside, I do discovery sessions. I'm happy to offer that to your listeners. And in between Instagram and my website, it has all my, you know, email address there, and they can reach out that way.
Awesome. I'll have all your details and any recommended resource from the episode in the show notes so people can reach out to you. I also put the link for your book in there as well. So thank
Yes,
you so
perfect.
much again, Pamela.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being on this podcast.
Awesome. And until next time, I love you, I believe in you, and you are worth taking that first step to the life of your dreams.